Heart first leadership isn't what you say, it's how you show up, how you regulate, how you communicate, and how you execute when it matters most. We are Heidi and Ryan Sawyer, and you are listening to the Heart First Leadership Podcast.
I'm excited to introduce to you today a friend and a colleague, Dr. Tyler Simmet. Tyler is a U.S. Army veteran. He spent his time in the Army as a physical therapist, and now he is an online health and mindset coach. He helps people with their mindset and does home lab testing to help people learn how to thrive in the face of cancer. Today, you're going to hear Tyler share his story as a cancer survivor. And it's a beautiful illustration of how we can take our life circumstances and even our life struggles and use them as an invitation to lead with our heart. So sit back and enjoy as Tyler shares his incredible story and how he leads with his heart first.
Well, welcome back to the show. I have another guest on today, a friend, a colleague, and I'm just excited for the audience to really learn from Tyler and meet Tyler as well. He's kind of new emerging into a new realm, which we'll hit in a minute. So Tyler Simmet, thank you for being here. I appreciate you showing up today, man.
Thanks for having me, man. It's an honor.
Yeah. So Tyler, I'll do a little introduction, before the show. I'll record that at a later date after this. So what I want to do is I really just want to hear from you, being on Heart First Podcast. What this is all about is us identifying these moments in our lives that woke us up and grabbed our attention to lead with our heart, right? In a way that shifted or course corrected our life in some way, shape, or form. So without any real fluff, I want you to just share a little bit, let's just go right to that moment. Let's not even avoid it. Let's just go right to that moment of saying, what is something that comes to your mind of an event or a series of events that woke you up to lead more with your heart in a new and different way?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was a junior at Washington State. I had a buddy that was in my fraternity, and his mom was working for the American Red Cross at the time. Mm-hmm. And so she had approached him about going over and helping with relief efforts following a big hurricane in New York that hit in 2012, at the end of 2012. And so we were on Thanksgiving break, and he just approached me about it and was like, "Hey man, would you be interested in doing this with me and going over there?" And at the time it sounded like a cool free trip to New York basically. And so it's like, yeah, let's do it. And we did the training and got the call the day before the last day of finals, like, "Hey, we need you guys over here. Can you get on a plane tomorrow?" basically. And so without diving too deep into all the specifics of that trip, it just really kicked me in the butt just to see people that were really struggling in need of help, and then being able to offer some of that assistance, even if it was just delivering food or getting clothes and just basic needs and supplies where they needed to be, and just being a part of that effort with a bigger group of people that had this bigger mission that was way beyond anything material or external. It was all about, love essentially. And I'd been exposed to some different aspects of that, growing up, and had some amazing role models and things. But I also had a large part of me that was very externally focused and very much focused on what this world can provide, what I could get, what I could achieve, what kind of money I could make. And that's kind of what I was studying pharmaceuticals at the time, with the hope of going and making a lot of money, essentially, not because it was something that I was passionate about. And so when I got back from the trip and I was just reevaluating all of these things, I kind of had a lot of heart-to-hearts with myself and with my friend that I went with. It had a really large impact on him as well. And I kind of freaked all my family out because I changed my major, and I was like, I was getting closer to the end than the beginning of school. And I, interestingly enough, like I shifted towards sports psychology. Long story short, that same kind of heart behind it led me toward wanting to serve in the military. And so I ended up becoming a physical therapist in the military, in the Army specifically. And and then that one moment was definitely like the biggest game changer, and it brought me to God, it brought me to Christ, and just had made, from that moment on, it like made me know that I was always going to put my heart first, and I was going to put love first and my passion. And it wasn't because what I felt on that trip was something that I knew right away, like, you can't buy that. Like, and I wasn't making any money off of it. Like, there was no profit. And so like when I got back, it was like, what am I like stressing out and doing all this work and studying to go, like, make this money when I have an opportunity like this that shows me that like the good or the gold can be in this moment right now, if I just let it be, if I focus on that love in my heart. And so that's kind of, the origin story, I guess.
I love it. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. I appreciate that. Obviously, it's an incredible, selfless thing to do, is to enter into the military and spend, how long were you in the Army for?
7 years.
7 years. So thank you for that. And, just in this world that we live in, where we are bombarded with information, and if we're not careful, we're being conditioned and really kind of programmed to be so externally focused, right, on materialistic items. Even if we say we're not, man, we have to really check that. Success, how success is measured, I believe needs to be reevaluated, right? And we really need to evaluate success based upon the meaning that we are pursuing in life. And in this pursuit of meaning, really, the only way to do that is to come from the heart, right? And then to have a level of faith that things will turn out for us, or things will be taken care of to a certain degree. So that's really my next question. And it's hard to have a heart first question without it being somehow based in faith. And so I know there's a second part to this conversation, and before we really hit on that, I would love to hear a little bit from you, just how that plays into your daily life to stay connected. How do you stay connected to this? Because it's one thing to have this a moment, right, where we feel like, oh, that was really cool, that made me feel amazing, and look how these people are living, and look how the impact that we can make. And it's right here, right now, in this moment. You don't have to have a degree. You don't have to make a certain amount of money to make the impact you want to make. But how do you stay connected to that on a daily basis? How do you stay connected to this heart first approach to life?
That's a good question. And to be honest with you, it's a daily battle. It's something that I always have to work on, making a priority and overcoming that, like, other part of myself. I feel like there's almost like two sides, like one that is like of this world, is focused on external accomplishments, rewards, attention, and ultimately I go through this yo-yo cycling type of thing sometimes, where I'll start to get away from heart centered, and then I'll come back I'll realize, okay, I'm getting off track and I have to come back. And so it's a constant battle, but I've built routines and things into my routine that allow me to stay focused on that. And also a lot of the things that I've said no to along the way help me stay focused on that. There's a lot of opportunities and things that have come up, job offers and different ways to pursue life outside of the military now that I'm out of the military, and really difficult things to turn down at times, but they weren't heart centered. And so it just is kind of, anytime I have a big decision like that, I evaluate what's going on deep down. And I think these practices and these disciplines that I was talking about, they help me kind of to keep a good level head, to be able to assess whether or not this is coming from, this is what I feel in my heart is the right thing to do. And part of that has included meditation for me, because when I'm always up in my head and going and on my phone and on my computer and listening to podcasts and just constantly consuming information and constantly on the go, it's just like, it's almost like my brain just goes on autopilot and I go on autopilot. It's just kind of like however I am biologically designed and wired to be is how I'm going to operate when I get into that mode. But when I get deep into my meditation practice and I'm really consistent with it, it's like the mind just quiets down. And I'm not saying like, if you're new to meditation, I'm not saying that you're going to go in and you're going to have that experience right away, or that you should even try to have that experience. But for me, that's what's happened in it. And when I can quiet the mind down, it illuminates like what's going on in the heart. And now I can really live that out. And then also my faith walk is like everything for me. And that includes Bible study every morning, and then a men's group Bible study that I go to on Tuesdays, and then a good prayer life that I'm regularly engaged in a conversation with God, and it's not something that I just wait until Sunday to go be with God. He's always there, and that's a relationship that I consider the most important relationship in my life. And if I keep that my top priority, is like maintaining that relationship through some of these practices, and also just like spending time with him, having some time in isolation too, where I could just be alone with him. It's like something that Jesus did all the time. He would get up early just so he had that time, when no one else was up, and he could be alone with God, or would go into the mountains to fast for 40 days and have all of that alone time with God. I think sometimes it's an issue. It might be an issue if you can't be alone. You don't feel okay if you're not around other people, because like what in my faith journey, what I've realized is like when I feel comfortable being alone, it's almost like I don't even feel like I'm alone. Like someone's there with me, like he's there with me. And we kind of dove deep into there, but that's just how I think about and honestly feel about these things.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. I love it. I mean, I'll let you keep going on and on, because I how meditation, how meditation is to me, how important that is, and a relationship with God. And I look at meditation as taking that time out, hitting pause and spending time with God. I mean, it's biblical, right? Be still and know that I am God. I mean, that's the whole piece. And so I just love you illuminating that. A couple of things I want to hit on. I think there are, maybe just in case somebody missed or brushed over top of it, you mentioned a couple of times this idea of decluttering, that you said no to certain opportunities that aren't heart-centered, and that you get out of your head. This, to me, meditation is a practice of decluttering, right? Because our heads can become cluttered with thoughts, with beliefs, with all kinds of preferences. And so the idea of getting out of your head and into your body, into your heart, being centered and spending that time gives you the ability to kind of be like, oh yeah, that's right. Almost like a wiping of the slate every single day. Because if we don't, we'll just kind of naturally fall into these trends and these patterns of being incredibly externally focused. And I have a confession to make here on the podcast that, that this current redirection and the rebranding of this podcast was 100% to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable to leading my life heart first. I couldn't even tell you how many times since I have changed the name to Heart First, how many times that comes up, where I'm sitting in front of somebody, I'm in a conversation that's sales based or whatever, and I start thinking about the money, I start thinking about the enrollment or the offer, and and I'm like, heart first. Listen. Like that's what it does. It literally legitimately gets me out of my head and into my heart. And to the point where then now I'm actively listening, right? Now I'm actively paying attention. Now I'm actually in the moment with the person rather than trying to figure out what we can get out of it, right? It's like the world isn't it's not about the world saying what can it provide for me, but what can I give? What can I give to the world, right? And that's living a heart first life. So yeah, I love you sharing that. And so I would love to hear from you now, like just if you could share more about like you're recently retired from the Army, just you recently moved on from the Army just a few months back. What is it that you are now doing and what has led you to that, living in this way?
We are all leaders. If you're ready to stop waiting and start impacting your environment in a powerful way, we want to connect with you. Click the Book Now link in the show notes to book a call with a Heart First coach and discover what Heart First leadership can look like in your life and in your environment. Now back to the show.
Yeah, so it was a bit of a wild ride the past couple of years. Erin and I, my wife, we got married in February of 2022. And then a couple of months after that, I was at work and talking with my boss, just kind of in passing and just talking to her. I'd had some numbness into my arm and I'd had back pain for a long time, but I just kind of wrote it off to being a football player and a wrestler and sitting in class for 7 years of school. And it just kind of made sense. And I'd do some physical therapy and it would feel better, do massage, feel better. So yeah, just mechanical back pain, no big deal. She's like, well, why don't you just go get an MRI if this has been going on for so long? It's right down the hall. Just go get it checked out. And so I did. And then being in the military environment as a provider, I was able to pull up the images almost immediately. And I did like a few glances up at the name on the image because I was like, this can't be my back, because there was a big tumor that was pressing into my spinal cord, indenting like almost like half of my spinal cord, and it was also pressing onto a nerve root. And so we walked down to orthopedics and they're like, yeah, we don't really deal with this stuff a lot. We recommend you get a off-post referral to neurosurgeon surgery, because we didn't have any neurosurgeons on post. And the neurosurgeon was extremely calm. It took me a while to get in there, but he's like, there's nothing to worry about here. You know, it's definitely a benign schwannoma. It's growing off this nerve root. Not concerned, but I think we should go get it out because it's really large and, you know, taking up a lot of space and pressing on your spinal cord and all this stuff. And so I was like, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. I had a couple other neurosurgeons take a look with very similar feedback. And so not very concerned going into the surgery. And then after the surgery, I woke up and the neurosurgeon's like, hey, man, it went great. We got it all. He's really excited. I was excited. And it's like, great. Like I can put this behind me, continue my military career and like move on with life. But I go in for my follow-up appointment a couple of weeks after that. And he shows me on the MRI that they didn't get it all out and not even really close. And also they got the pathology report indicating that it was a rare type of cancer. And so not the news that I was expecting at the time, you know. And I had this moment outside of his office where I was just sitting there in kind of, you know, a shock mode a little bit and doing some Googling and wanting to see the science behind it and seeing things like, you know, 5-year survival rate is 50% with this, which is complicated. You know, it's not, doesn't tell the whole picture of like what's going on with that person. But I was just kind of like questioning God, you know, for the first time in a long time. It's like, I felt like so much energy, and he was working so much in my life to get me to this point, and I felt like there was so much ahead. I knew there was so much ahead, and then almost honestly, like almost within a minute or two of me going down that thought process, I was at that point already in my faith life to be like, wait a second, you're questioning God again. Like we've gone down this road before, and
We've already done this.
yeah,
Yeah.
like I don't have to understand. Like his intelligence and his plan is much greater than me, even if that includes me not being around. Honestly, these are the thoughts that I was having, and after that, it was quite a journey. Like I had to go to New York for a second surgery just a couple of months later. So it was a major back surgery. The first one, everything was already really beat up in there. They go in January 3rd of 2023, and amazing surgeon. He was able to get all of it out. I was on the table for like 8 hours.
Wow.
I wake up and, they're telling me the good news, and you'd think I'd be excited, and I was happy, but I was in so much pain, and my arms, I think, had been like stretched out for so long. Like my arms were actually almost in more pain than my back. And then the nurse comes in and she offers me like acetaminophen, and that's not gonna cut it right now. So long hospital stay. It was like a week, and then I had to stay in the area at Airbnb for another week, and really, pain meds really not doing much of anything. And so that was the time where like my mind started spinning a lot, because I was someone that, like, before the first surgery, I was working 2 jobs. I was working the Army and then a place off base. I was prepping for a bodybuilding competition, which is like almost a full-time job in itself. And so I was like, go, go, go. And so for me to go like from 100 to nothing like that quick, it just put me in a really rough spot mentally. There was no transition phase for me. And so, not that it would be easy if I was a lazy person. Like, anyway, this is the difficult circumstance. And so I finished up in New York, flew back to North Carolina, and had some life circumstance things going on too. Like my military career was kind of in jeopardy, and there was some like a real estate transaction where the guy was acting kind of weird, and then I just was getting in my head about everything. And then it was about February, about a year ago, my friend Rob had told me about your program, Integrated Mindset, and I was, familiar with the space, with like meditation and like self improvement, and read a lot of books and done some work, done a yoga certification, and so I was interested and ultimately signed up. And it was like from that moment of the class starting, 4 weeks after that, I was able to get off of my anxiety medication, and I was almost to a point where it had relaxed me so much where it was like I was sluggish, like, and so I've learned to find balance, since then. But highly effective, program, and it was really perfect timing, because I also, in the middle of that, I had to go to Atlanta for radiation, where I was living by myself and just going for this special type of radiation. And we were still continuing the program at the time. And it just allowed me to have this amazing group and community, and yourself and I, connecting one-on-one on top of that, and just kind of really this extra support system and all of these mental tools and resources that I was able to practically apply, right at the time, to make it feel like it was a struggle, but it didn't really feel like a struggle, if that makes any sense. It just felt like it was another growth phase, because that's how I was looking at it, because like of the content and the things that we had talked about, where I got to a point, ultimately, it just helped me so much in my faith walk to just let go and trust God, and give up everything to him and in his plan. And then later in the course, being able to visualize what I want my life to look like next, and being able to do that from a heart-centered kind of perspective, kind of led me on this new path where I'm actually now working with the cancer community, which was something that I wasn't going to do. And I had to go through a lot of soul searching and help from like role models like yourself just to kind of land me back in this place. But ultimately it was the ultimate version of heart centered, of like when I went to this conference last July, I think it was, for my particular type of cancer, and being able to share some of the lessons that I learned through integrated mindset and connecting with them and realizing that, like, from my own walk, I realized that this is the most important work that there is, because like you can do a morning routine that includes like cold plunging and a great workout and you can feel good, but
Right.
it's not necessarily healing things that are happening at a root level, like at the core of your being, like really healing from the inside out is what I think all of us need, not just the cancer community. Everybody has their own version of difficulty, of trauma that they have experienced in their life, emotional and otherwise, that they have to process. And I just fully believe that, like, the more that I've learned about this work, and then I went to a retreat. So I was silent. It was a silent retreat for 3 days, and I felt the same way, because that was difficult. But once I got over the hump on the tough part of that, I had that same thought. This is the most important work, because I had stuff coming up that, like, from my childhood and stuff that I didn't even think was still there, but it came up and I worked through it. I used the things that they were teaching me at this retreat to work through it. And now I continue practices from that retreat. And it's like anything else, though. If you don't use it, you lose it. And it's consistency. And like, as a physical therapist, as a health coach, and kind of what I'm doing now, I'm not doing physical therapy now, but like that's what I try to preach to people, is that it has to be something that if you're going to add something into your life, it has to be something that you can foresee bringing into your life forever, essentially. Like, not looking at it as like, I do this for 2 weeks and I'm good to go and I don't have to do it. Takes work, but anything like in life that is going to bring you like benefits and it is going to like make things better is going to take work. It's going to take effort. And so it's just a matter of like discipline and effort for me. And so a little bit more like specific about what I'm doing with the cancer community is like, I got certified to coach integrated mindset. And so I'm bringing people into that course. And then I started my own business where I'm certified integrative health practitioner. And so I can order functional medicine labs for people, and it gets shipped to their house, and then they ship it back to the lab. And then as their coach, I get the results, and then we go over it and develop a very personalized health plan based on like what's going on specifically in their body. And we look at different things like hormone levels, gut health, immune system functioning, food sensitivities, and kind of the list goes on there. But yeah, that's like the general idea of what I'm doing now and how I got there.
Well, thank you again for sharing that whole story. I know it's never easy to share those stories that are, where some of our pain lies, but that pain a lot of times is a nudge or an invitation to then do something that's really truly meaningful and to lead from that place. And so it's fun to see the unfoldment and be a part of your journey and supporting you along the way in a way that allows for you to really step into something. And from our vantage point over here, watching you, it's incredibly clear that you're on the right path and that you're doing what you're meant to be doing. So it's an honor to be a part of it. So give me just a quick little like elevator pitch of what is your heartfelt desired outcome for someone who you do work with. It's someone who's either currently in the fight of battling cancer or a cancer survivor. And if they came to you and worked with you for, got their blood work and and experienced that health coaching and worked on their mindset through, the program that you facilitate, what do you feel like is the desired outcome for that individual on the other side of it?
Everybody has a different experience with cancer. Everybody, not one, even if you have the same type of cancer, not one person's walk is the same. But what is consistent throughout is that it's an energy suck, not just the cancer itself, but the treatment options are just, they can steal your energy, and the things that you have to deal with mentally and spiritually around the diagnosis even rob it even more. And they put your health in a more compromised position. And the reason that I'm so passionate about this and wanting to bring it to this community, both sides of what I'm doing, the physical and the mental and spiritual, is because if you go to an oncologist, it's very rare that they're going to even mention these things or even like accept that they have any sort of value to them. But what we know, and it's not just me saying this is backed by science, is like the body has an incredible ability to heal itself. And then the body and the mind are so closely connected that the mind has incredible healing powers. And if you look at something like the placebo effect and just the power of belief, in someone's taking a sugar pill, they think it's curing their depression and their depression's gone. And that's honestly just kind of a minor example of how strong, how powerful the mind can be. And so my goal through this, through the mind and the body and the spirit, working on all of these things to create an optimal internal environment for healing, for healing from the trauma that you're going through, and in looking at your situation in a little bit different way, and playing the hero and not the victim, and learning to grow from it, and coming out of the fire as just with another layer of a shield on, basically, of armor.
Sure.
And just having that much more, because you can go the other direction, right? You can let it drain you. You can let it get the best of you and feel sorry for yourself and start drinking and marijuana and Band-Aid solutions. Or like I was saying before, you could put in the work. And that goes back to what I'm saying before with energy levels. With me, it was, the treatment was much worse than the disease. Like the disease itself, basically my main symptoms, I don't know. It might have gave me some fatigue. I don't know. My main thing was I had the numbness into my arm and some back pain. Afterwards, I couldn't move. I couldn't move for basically 2 weeks after my surgery. And then for probably 2 months after that, I couldn't sit up for more than 5, maybe 10 minutes at a time. And then the radiation ended up giving me a lot of issues that kind of extended after that. And so I just focused in so hard on these principles because I knew the power behind them. Having, a lot of background in this and understanding the science around, okay, if cortisol, which is our main stress hormone, if that is chronically elevated over a long period of time because we're overly stressed out, what happens is we start producing less of the hormones that give us more energy and help our libido and make us feel alive, like testosterone and progesterone for women, for example. And it also decreases or it interferes with the immune pathway, where basically the lymphocytes, the killer T cells, which help, do things like fight cancer, those aren't converted to the active form if we have excess cortisol. And so our immune system is dysregulated. And that is strongly influenced not only by our stress hormones, but also by what we're putting into our body. There's also a lot of good research coming out around metabolic therapy for cancer in showing that a lot of tumors really feed on insulin and on sugar. And so there's a lot of people having success going on like keto diets or doing a lot of fasting while they're, in the midst of this. And so I'm not necessarily advocating for that, but that's part of what I can test for is looking at your insulin levels and your blood sugar. And I'm not saying we need to drop all the way to zero, but that would basically mean you're dead, but getting it to a healthy, like sustainable level through a very specific nutrition plan that includes a lot of protein and minimal sugar and refined carbohydrates. And even though you can't control what's happening necessarily with the cancer and the treatment and all this stuff, you do have control over those things. And that is going to directly impact your energy levels, which is going to directly impact your outlook and your joy and your ability to and it can be in this upward spiral to a point where I honestly believe that it can save lives and not even just save it from death, but like I look at where I ended up and like it could have gone the opposite way for me. Like I'm really doing well now and it's not even that far out. It's like a year out from all this stuff and I'm back in the gym. I'm doing hot yoga. I'm climbing mountains. I'm running on the beach with my dog. Like I'm doing great. And I don't mean that. I don't say that to just, look what I did, but it's about like showing some proof that this stuff works. And that's why I'm moving into this. I honestly think that the happiest I would be right now is if I were to go take a job at a physical therapy clinic and working with athletes, and I would be having a blast and having a lot of fun. But like that's not heart first, right? Like it's tough starting a business. It's tough trying to grow these things and putting yourself out there and trying to make yourself known. But it's 100% worth it because of all these things that I've kind of told you about, of like how strongly I believe it, and I'm letting like my heart lead. And I'm not taking kind of that what I would consider like the easy way out of just going and taking a job and working a 9 to 5, and life's simple and life's good and it's fun and I'm loving it. But it's not about me. It's about God, and it's about everybody else, the people I could serve. Yeah,
that's beautiful. So again, thank you so much. I just love your passion behind what you're doing now and just your conviction of leading with your heart. So this is exactly the type of conversations I want to have and just excited about watching, where it takes you and how many lives you impact and even potentially save, right? So give us an idea of where to find you on Instagram. Like what's the best way to find you?
Yeah, the Instagram right now is definitely the best place. And my handle is Dr. Tyler Simmet. That's DrTyler and SIMMET.
Awesome. And I'll obviously put that in the show notes and everything else. Give me one piece of advice for somebody who is going through the situation that you've been through. Just one thing. What's one piece of advice?
Your biggest enemy is yourself and the mind, right? And where it can go. And for me, it could go too far in the future, too far in the past, and just be here now. Easier said than done, but just be here now and just make progress. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to do everything at once, but just like be here and just like taking baby steps, like one thing at a time, and not trying to do too much at once. And because overwhelm is real and the stress is real and it's harmful, and there's so many things you could do to help your cause, but just you don't need to do it all at once.
Yeah, awesome. Incremental shifts, man. Yeah, great. Well, I highly encourage everybody to go check out, watch Tyler or follow Tyler on Instagram. And if you have somebody who has either been recently diagnosed or is a cancer survivor, and you know that this type of work health coaching, mindset coaching could benefit them, reach out to Tyler, see what he has to offer, at least have a conversation. And because he has an incredible heart and so much to offer. So thank you again, Tyler, for coming on the show today and sharing your story. And we'll just look forward to watching and see the impact that you make.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you for listening. Remember, leaders go first, alignment matters, and the environment that you create is the legacy you'll leave. We'll see you on the next episode.